Hello my disciples, Father Andrew here. Today I'm going to be talking about why I stopped being a socialist or communist or whatever the term is these days. I've wanted to get this video done for a good while, so here it is. And getting right into it, starting off with the first reason, we have the fact that communism just straight up does not work, which is because of a multitude of reasons. Its dependency on bureaucracy to make any form of decision, which is what led to the USSR having mass starvations, the fact that it's incompatible with human nature, and as a result the greediest and the most manipulative people always find their way to the top, the fact that the government under communism has basically indefinite power, which in hand enables significantly more corruption and the dictatorship in place to be significantly worse. Because they can simply justify that using whatever excuse they want, and because they have all the power, they can just get rid of any opposition. Not only that, but communist countries have a horrible track record of human rights violations, mass starvations, and the, enslavement of people that disagree with the government, like what the USSR did with the gulags. Which brings me on to another point. Socialist and communist countries, because they rely on bureaucracy to control everything, tends to have massive amounts of famine and starvation because bureaucrats don't know how to fucking run a farm. Also, in relation to what I mentioned with the Soviet gulags earlier, 61 million died in those camps. And the worst part is that is the most conservative estimate you can find, and that is literally just the gulags on their own. And another 8.7 million because of the USSR's famine, which combined gives you over 70 million deaths. That is greater than the estimated 35 to 60 million lives lost during World War II on all sides. And even worse, in other communist countries, Fulgencio Batista murdered 20,000 Cubans in 7 years, and Mao's Great Leap Forward caused a famine killing 55 million. When you add up all of those deaths, every single one in those 5 things I just mentioned, you're looking at over 125 million fucking deaths. And all of this is because of the inherent problems with how socialism works. This whole treating everyone equal, redistributing thing, it just doesn't fucking work when you actually put it into practice. Not only the logistical nightmare of organising that, but when the actual government gets the power to do whatever they want to make that happen, you can see that it just leads to blatant corruption. And that's because of the inherent nature of humans, which is another reason communism falls apart. Same with socialism, well, they're both the same sort of fucking thing. In fact, the Nazis, the National Socialist German Workers' Party, the NSDAP, they were allies with the Soviet Union at one point, because they had similar values. Of course that fell apart, and I may at some point do a in-depth video on that if I feel like it, but anyway, now to move on to the second reason I stopped being a socialist, or communist, or whatever the fuck. That second reason being how it actually affected me, and how I actually became one. I'm not going to go into too many private details, but essentially I was hanging around some communists because they seemed like nice people at first. I met them through actually discovering communism when I was like 15, and for a good while I thought they were actually my friends, but looking back on it, now that I see they were actually just parasites trying to brainwash me and turn me into just another socialist puppet drone. I would always be there giving those little fuckers every little bit of help I could, helping them feel better when they felt down, but every time something went wrong with me, oh no, complete fucking silence. So when I was around 17, I ditched that group of bozos and found a different group. They were actually a lot more tolerable at first, but I'm not gonna lie, things got really fucking bad. Over 2 whole years of knowing them, it got really fucked. I saw them go down a path where they basically turned into Vorsh, and I'm not joking, they were like actively against the edge of consent. And knowing exactly what kind of path that was gonna go down, I dipped the fuck out of there. And it was at that point I realised that a lot of the socialists I met were actually just degenerates. Like, I'd never ran into a singular one that didn't have some kind of ulterior motive. Which made me deeply question why I was even a socialist in the first place if the ideology kept attracting people like that. So I ended up deciding to just browse around, find some discords and make some new friends that were from different political views so I could try and see what was actually going on. And after about a year of fucking around and meeting different people, I eventually settled into the friend group I currently have, and I'm very glad that they made me aware of just the absolute dog shit that is socialism. Of course, this being around early 2020. And the best part is, I'm glad that I have friends I can actually trust, and people who are actually willing to support me when I'm feeling down. Said friends being actually probably some of the best people I've ever met. And I'm very thankful that they actually took the time to make me aware of just how shit socialism actually was. And with that, those are my two major reasons for why I stopped being a socialist. In summary, because the ideology itself is a failure, and because that has a horrible tendency to attract terrible people. And at my disciples, actually before I go, it's currently July, it's actually quite hot, so remember to stay hydrated. And remember, sunlight gives you vitamin D, which is good for healing injuries. So yeah, see ya.